Today's Afghanistan under the Taliban is just like Judea in the time of Jesus. The Romans were like a Western army trying to suppress constant Taliban terrorism. The Jewish terrorists back then were called zealots. In the Messianic legacy, Weigand, Lee, and Lincoln wrote, "The nation of Israel 2,000 years ago was perceived primarily as a spiritual rather than secular entity. All Islamic nations today see themselves as spiritual rather than secular. That's particularly true of Iran, Afghanistan, and Saudi Arabia. Israel is largely spiritual rather than secular. And Trump's USA sees itself as an exceptional, providential, spiritual undertaking with a manifest destiny." Weigand, Lee, and Lincoln wrote, "The nation of Israel represented an extreme example of a theocracy, of a body politic organized essentially around religious principles. Not only were religion and the state virtually synonymous, as they might be today, for example, in Iran. The state itself was a manifestation of religion. Every other aspect of the culture was similarly absorbed within a religious framework. The very landscape was regarded as uniquely and especially favored by God. Well, it was the promised land, wasn't it? Jesus was not some enlightened preacher. He was the equivalent of a bearded leader of the Taliban, fiercely resisting the civilized Romans who were trying to give Judea the great benefits of membership of the Roman Empire. In The Life of Brian, Monty Python said, "All right, but apart from the sanitation, the medicine, education, wine, public order, irrigation, roads, a fresh water system, and public health, what have the Romans ever done for us?" To the Romans, the Jews of that era were as vile as many Westerners regard the Taliban today. Religious fanatics and nutcases, utterly opposed to advanced civilization. And Jesus Christ was one of their leaders. Is there anything more disturbing than that a man worshipped today by billions of people was in his own day a religious extremist of the kind that sickens the modern civilized mind? The greatest con ever pulled off was the conversion of a fanatic, a violent insurrectionist against Rome, a terrorist, into an enlightened religious moderate preaching love and peace. It would be as remarkable as finding Osama bin Laden being presented decades from now as God incarnate. Can you imagine? Yet something equivalent to that actually happened. Jesus Christ was an invented character based on a real person who attempted to raise a revolt against Rome, failed, and was crucified by the Romans, along with hundreds of his fellow zealots. This person claimed to be of the line of David, to be a new Solomon. The Gospel writers did something truly astounding. They used the tale of a physical Messiah and transformed him into a metaphysical Messiah. They changed him from someone who rebelled against Rome to someone who rendered unto Rome and preached a remarkable new message. The old message was that the Messiah must defeat Rome and rule from Jerusalem. The new message was that Rome could not be defeated, and the Messiah would instead bring a new world and a new Jerusalem, but he would bring it after his death. He would be resurrected and live again. Then, at some unspecified point in the future, he would return, the second coming, and establish a kingdom of God on earth. This was such a powerful story that billions still believe it today. It's not real people who conquer the world. It's stories, myths, legends. Victor Hugo said, "There is one thing stronger than all the armies in the world, and that is an idea whose time has come." Christianity was a breathtakingly powerful story that allowed it in due course to conquer Rome and the world. It was based on someone who bore no resemblance at all to what he was later depicted as. St. Paul, who never met Jesus, basically invented Jesus. The real Jesus was a Jew at all times. He wasn't a Christian. Paul invented Christianity and its Messiah, and the Gospels, which were written after Paul's letters, reflected Paul's mythologizing. This is the biggest scam in history, bar none. Only Islam's plagiarism of Judaism comes close. But all of this means that a new story, an even better and more powerful one, can come along and conquer Christianity. What will that story be? Will you be the new Paul who invents an idea that will change the destiny of humanity? Paul managed it. Why can't you?